Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor, and welcome to another episode of 10 Commandments for This One's Wife, where the power to restrain, to injunct, to order her about, basically, is given to my guest. They then come up with 10 commandments that are issued towards this one's wife, and she has to comply with them. Today, my guest, who has been given the power, is our recollections may vary. I'll just put my teeth back in there. Hello, our recollections. How are you?
Very good, HG. Thanks for having me.
Not at all. Pleasure to have you here. Well, let us get down to business and find out what's going to be coming this one's wife's way. What's your first commandment for her?
My first commandment is thou shalt be Pinocchio. I'm not going to let her lie.
Okay, now let me clarify here.
Yes.
Pinocchio could tell lies, but his nose grew.
Yes.
So
along those lines, something along those lines. But I don't think the nose, because it would be too obvious and her vanity would get in the way. So I was trying to think of maybe like she gained a pound or something like that, something a little more subtle.
Okay, so is it the case that she can't lie absolutely, or is it the case she can lie but with consequence?
She can lie with consequence. I debated between that movie Liar Liar, I think it was Jim Carrey, where he couldn't actually lie. But I was going more along the lines of, if she lies, there's consequences. And it's something that it's subtle, but it adds up over time.
Okay, why would you want it to be subtle? Why not have something like, I don't know, her hair suddenly changes color immediately?
Because I thought, when I first did my 10 commandments, I ended up throwing them out because I realized you have to work within her narcissism, and you can't, she's going to find a loophole. And so I wanted to.
No loopholes.
There's no loopholes.
If you order it,
it happens.
It happens. There's no get out. So she can't. Her narcissism might fight against it, but ultimately, for instance, if you said she can't lie, she will never be able to tell a lie ever again.
All right. Well, then, yeah, I'm going to make her hair orange if she does.
Okay. So she'll look like Harry.
Yeah, or maybe it should be her skin changes color again. But see, we wouldn't notice it because it does it anyway.
Ooh, early catty remark registered there. Okay. So let's be clear about this. She can lie, but there is a consequence.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that would bother her more.
Okay. And in terms of consequence, either her hair might instantly change color, so everybody knows that she's told a porky pie.
Yes.
All right.
But then does it turn back? If she's at the end, if she undoes it, I don't know. That's a tough one.
Or maybe it just stays orange to know that she's told a lie. And then the next time she tells a lie, it goes bright green.
That's good. I like that.
So she's not wearing her natural hair color. We know that that she has told a lie. So basically, her hair will start to represent Joseph's amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Yes.
Because of her narcissism, she cannot help but tell lies, which, of course, are her truth, but she will tell lies. Okay, so
it's like the horses on Wizard of Oz, where they just keep changing every 2 seconds.
Okay. So she is going to end up with hair that's going to be repeatedly changing color as a consequence of her propensity to lie. So she can lie, but there is a consequence. Very good. Okay, what's the second commandment, Recollections?
I'm going to make her queen of an island of squatties, where she has to deal with the Sugars and the Sussex squad, and she can be queen of them, but she's got to deal with the nonsense that, eventually a group of them, of only them, they're not going to be able to perform very well. They're just going to be a mess, and she's going to be the queen of it.
Do you see it being like Lord of the Flies?
Yes. Maybe not exactly quite killing each other off, but,
it might go that way.
It might, but if nothing else, they're so catty and petty that over time, they would just be a mess. They'd be all backstabbing each other.
Well, let's break this down further then. So she's put on an island somewhere where it's filled with the Sugars, members of the Sussex squad.
Yes.
So in terms of her being a narcissist, she's the queen, and of course they
Yes.
worship at the altar of this one's wife. So in terms of initially at least controlling them, there isn't a problem.
Right.
And they'll be providing her with plenty of fuel by praising her and go, "Ooh, how lovely to see you," and "Isn't Catherine awful," etc. So
Yes.
she'll be getting plenty of fuel.
Mhm.
And I don't think there'll be too much in the way of character traits to obtain from them because they're a particularly dim bunch. So that
Yes.
could be a problem. Residual benefits will be thin on the ground because they're not particularly known for being in the upper echelons of the socioeconomic grouping.
Right.
But
That's the big thing because that's gonna, over time, they are all also entitled and they want everything given to them. So when no one's producing anything to give to them,
mhm.
over time they're gonna, start complaining against her, and over time it's not gonna be quite the idyllic situation that it starts.
What about the possibility that they see through her by spending so much time with her?
Yes, absolutely. And when they don't, she doesn't ever work, so they can't ever have a productive society amongst themselves.
No, I don't think we're envisaging that it's going to get beyond a certain time period that they'd actually start to create anything. It would just be mayhem.
Yes.
To begin with, it would all seem like a lovely holiday, perhaps on a
Yes.
tropical island somewhere, and then it would start to turn into recriminations as they don't do what she wants and they see through her, and then the dream. Because
Yeah.
I think with many of the sugars that they have essentially adopted her as a proxy for what they would like to have been. And
Yes.
whilst there are some genuinely unpleasant individuals amongst them, I think many of them are just easily led, not particularly good at critical thinking. And actually, they would find that the queen, as they see her
Yes.
as, is basically the emperor's new clothes. And I think many of them would actually just be left with an abject sense of disappointment.
Yes. And because they are rather unpleasant individuals, as they get that sense of disappointment, I envision it becoming a rather nasty place to be.
Okay, so she's going to be sent to an island. She's going to be crowned as queen there, and then it's going to be filled with squaddies and basically stand back and light the blue touch paper.
Yes.
Okay. What's the third commandment, please?
The third commandment is I am going to reunite her with her family. Her family, not Harry's family, her
Hmm.
family. And it's going to be in a pay-per-view. We're
Okay.
going to watch it.
Yeah. So set the scene. Where will they be reunited? Will it be at a branch of McDonald's or Thomas Markle's house? Where is it going to take place?
Well, it's going to be on her island because she's off on the island being queen. So they're going to all join her there.
Okay.
And I envision that at first everybody is going to be they're all going to be looking forward to it because they all think they're going to get one over. They're going to finally, win
Yeah.
because that's what it seems to all be about for them. And I think that, as time evolves and they're sitting there discussing things, they're going to just call each other out for liars, and it's going to be great fun listening to it.
What about that they sit down and smoke the pipe of peace and sing Kumbaya?
I would say that that's unlikely. I believe that possibly the men, Thomas and Thomas, they might go for that just because they just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
But the two women, Samantha and Megan, there's no way that these two are going to sit down and do a peace pipe because they both want to win and
So
they
there's going to
both want
be
to one up each other.
so there's going to be a cat fight basically
Oh,
between those
yes.
two,
Yes.
and it's done on a pay-per-view. Where is the money going to go to from this
Well,
pay-per-view?
I'll donate it all to charity.
Your
But
place in heaven. Your place in heaven is assured. Any particular charity? Is it for the Sussex Squad Survivors Group or?
That would be a great one. The
Yeah.
Sussex Squad Survivors Group, or even the YouTubers like, Yankee Wally, the ones that have just been abused and tortured by, the squad. Yeah, we'll give it to any of them.
Okay, so there's going to be a pay-per-view reunification of the Markle family.
Yes.
How do you think this one's wife will handle it? Do you think she'll go on the offensive? Do you think she'll drop to the floor sobbing, one tear, left eye go, or do you think she'll run off somewhere in the island?
I think it'll start out with the one tear left eye
Mm.
because they do like to bring on the sympathy ploy.
Mhm.
But as time, when they start doing that against each other, and I think it's only Meghan and Samantha. I don't think Doria is even a one tear left eye. Or I think that as they realize that they're both trying it, it's not going to work, and one of them is going to say something nasty, and then it'll just ignite.
Okay. So that's our third commandment. What's the fourth one?
She shall use her true identity online at all times, because we know she's got a presence on social media, and her whole thing that, social media is, people are bullies and this and that, and she's the most bullied woman on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
We all know she's out there doing it just as much. And I want to reveal that and let that be seen.
So she'd have to appear under her actual name.
Yes, she has to be herself at all times so that we know this is her. Enough of this nonsense where you're out there saying that you're the innocent victim in all this when we all know that you're not.
Yes. I remember listening to a radio play a number of years ago where there was a computer virus, and what it did was it caused everybody's real name to be substituted for the usernames that they'd adopted. So everybody was suddenly able to see who had been saying what about them, and of course chaos ensued. It was rather entertaining. So it'd be something similar, but just solely for her, so that her identity. What do you think she would do in those circumstances? Because she'd obviously know that it was having to use her true identity. Do you think therefore she would continue behaving as she has, as is suspected online, or do you think she'd stop?
I think at first she would be the angel that she pretends to be.
Yeah.
And it would be continuing the image that, she's the victim and everything. But it wouldn't last long, because eventually something would be said that she would have to lash out at. And then, all bets would be off.
And so she would revert to the behaviors that have seen before, albeit under a particular handle, such as the suspected guest speaker. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so she's forced to use her true identity online, which would, in all likelihood, not cure her going online, but instead would just simply expose the way that she behaves under her real name.
Yes.
Okay. What's the fifth commandment, please?
She shall always live within her means.
What's the thought process behind that?
The thought process is, well, it might save the planet if they have to live within their means, because, stop the jetting about here and there. But just generally that it kind of has to reveal her to be who she really is, because I think she's very much so pretending to be a woman of means that she doesn't have. And, a little humbling there for her of, live like the rest of the most of the world, and even live like someone who has the money she has.
Well, we know that she's obviously got to a particular level of wealth, because of the money that Harry had, and that Harry has recently inherited, if he's allowed her any kind of access to it or has spent it on her. And of course, they received some money from Spotify, they've received some money from Netflix. Nobody can say for certain exactly what those sums are outside of the people that have advised them. So they're clearly of means.
Yes.
So, but you think that she conducts herself in a way whereby she lives as if she's even wealthier than she actually is.
Yes, and I think the other thing too, for example, when it comes to security, right? So from what we can see, it seems as though they're blowing through money, especially just thinking about, their security costs, for example.
Yeah.
Well, if she can still keep that security, well, then that will also open the questions of, well, then who's paying for it? Because you're not, and so it could also reveal who might be helping them.
I see. So you would want it so that, I mean, how would this go about in terms of accountability? Would you have it to say there'd have to be some kind of declaration of income?
Maybe, yeah. But I mean, I don't know that would even really show it, because a declaration of income still doesn't necessarily show what their spending is. We can presume and we can guess. I mean, obviously, there might be someone who's a forensic accountant who can go through that. I know that's certainly not within my capabilities,
Mm.
but something just so that she can, so that we can see exactly. Like I said, I think that she's got money coming from supporters, let's say, and we know that otherwise she can't be living the way that she is.
Why,
So let's
why,
view that
why
as.
do you think people provide her with that residual benefit of financial support?
I think that there's a lot going on in California in terms of there's that group all under the Getty umbrella is what I would call it, who Newsom, Kamala Harris, there's some benefit in it, whether or not it's, she's got something on them, I don't know, but they
Right.
find a benefit from propping her up. I don't know yet what it could be. I don't know if it's just a simple, you know, they like her, or whether or not there's some corruption involved. I don't know, but someone's giving her something.
What do you think the biggest advantage is for them in doing that for her?
I like I said, it could possibly be that they just have something on her, but I think it's a political power thing. I think
Okay.
that it has to do with political power in California.
Do you think she's getting substantial financial help?
I don't know if it's necessarily that they're giving her money, but they're supporting some of the things that she does so that she can do them.
Okay, right. But ultimately, you want her to cut her cloth accordingly, so she's going to have to live within her means, which at the
Yes.
moment might not be too problematic, but if things
Right.
continue the way that they are, with the deals having dried up and nobody
Hmm.
seemingly wanting to offer them, and the fashion houses and the cosmetic giants, as I repeatedly state, aren't interested in partnering up with her,
Yeah.
see her with no security and having to put the property up for sale and so forth because she has to live within her means, then
Or even if she has that property, because there's question on that,
yeah.
and if she has to live within her means, then we're not going to maybe we won't see her living in that supposed property.
How do you see that as being problematic for a narcissist like her?
Oh, it would aggravate her to no end that people would know the truth. I mean, it destroys the image.
Mm. And as a somatic narcissist, she's motivated by appearance and material
Hmm.
matters, and therefore having to cut things back so she can't portray herself to be as financially successful and ostentatious as she likes to, with the security detail and the private jets and the expensive clothing and jewelry, would essentially
Absolutely.
amount to a threat to her need for control.
Yes. The
Mm.
status would be the status is, I mean, let's be honest, probably the whole reason she married Harry, and if she loses that,
Yeah. Okay. What's commandment number 6?
I'm going to give her fact checked for any public speaking. And this is separate from the lies, because I think a lot of the things she may not realize that she's lying. It's a matter of just a lack of, education in what she's discussing.
Mm.
And so I'm going to go ahead and put a fact checker on her. Maybe someone better than AFP, but maybe someone like the Royal Grift, someone to really actually fact check what she says, because like I said, sometimes she doesn't necessarily know that she's lying. It's just she doesn't work to find out the information that she's discussing.
A lot of the time, she doesn't believe she's lying because her narcissism tells her that she's
Right.
telling the truth. And so it's not necessarily a lack of understanding. It's quite simply that the way that she sees the world through the lens of her narcissism
Hmm.
causes her to tell lies because she actually thinks that's the truth. It's like there's a bit of a circuit missing from her
Yes.
brain circuitry, so that she just doesn't comprehend that she's telling a lie. I know many people find that difficult to believe, but that is how it functions. Now, with this fact checking, how would it work? Would it be the case that when she's about to make a public speech, the content of that speech has to be handed over beforehand so that it's fact checked and porcupines are pulled out of it, or is she
Yes.
checked so it's done that way?
It's done beforehand. Yes. Before she speaks.
What if she starts to deviate and she starts ad-libbing when she's talking?
Well, I guess that there should be some accountability so that it's known that this was approved and this is where she went.
Maybe a
Would
big
that be?
hook,
Yeah.
maybe Big Hook comes on and just yanks her off the stage when she starts to tell the Porky Pies that aren't
Well, that would be enjoyable to watch.
accurate points. Yeah. So you could see her sort of looking to the side
Physically.
as the crook starts to the hook steadily inches onto the stage, and then all of a sudden it goes around her neck and she's pulled off the stage. Yeah, that'd be quite entertaining. Okay.
Yes.
So she'd be fact checked, and as a consequence of that, might be the case then we'd just be left with a load of fridge magnet platitudes.
I think that very possibly that would be exactly it, because really she doesn't educate herself on things.
No.
Her word salad doesn't actually say anything meaningful. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Were you not tempted just to say, "Thou shalt not public speak"?
Yes, but again, I thought of things like there's only so much, like you said, she can't have loopholes. But originally I was looking at it as she's going to do these things. So how do I put checks on what she's going to do?
Well, no, this is the magical power that you've been granted. Yeah. If you were to say you cannot speak in public ever again, that just she's just prevented. It's like this magical force stops her.
But even with that potential and even with that power, I would get enjoyment out of watching her try.
That's fair enough. Yeah. Okay. So you wouldn't want to stop her outright. You would just want to make sure that when she does speak, she tells the truth.
And in the end, I mean, how many times is she going to get yanked off that stage before she realizes it's not helping her to do it? Maybe she'll, stop on her own, so we don't have to stop her.
If your commandment was implemented, do you think that would make her a better public speaker?
I don't think so, because I don't know that she could do it. I think it would just reveal what a horrific public speaker she is. She's not going to work at it. She's not going to work to improve it.
You see,
she won't educate herself.
If she can't say misleading things, we're just going to be treated really to her talking about herself, aren't we?
Oh, well, that could be fun too.
Yeah,
she'll even get herself in trouble there
about what she's been doing. So, because she can't, for instance, if she attempts to repeat "I wrote to Procter and Gamble and single-handedly changed their advertising campaign" when it's actually the class that did it, so she's not going to be allowed to say that. Although she could say, as part of a class project, I and my classmates wrote to Procter and Gamble. So we could be bored by that anecdote again. But it would seem to me that if she's having to be fact-checked, then we're just going to be left with, well, not a lot, really.
And, if she's just talking about herself, well, then she's going to end up lying, and then we get the Technicolor Dreamcoat of her hair.
Okay. So you get a light show with it as well, in effect.
Yes, exactly.
All right, fair enough. Well, it would certainly be more interesting than what's coming out of her mouth.
Exactly.
What's the 7th commandment, please?
She shall only get a benefit from positive fuel, meaning that if she's not doing good things, she's not going to get benefit from, say, the negative things just being talked about. Even if it's negative, I'm not going to let her benefit from that.
I see. So in essence, she can only garner positive fuel.
Right.
Yeah. So she can't make somebody cry and receive the negative fuel. She can't make somebody angry and receive the negative fuel. She's basically got to either cause people to praise her, to admire her, to like her, to love her.
And that was part of it too. Yeah, it theoretically could improve her behavior, because she's not going to be getting the fuel from the bad things.
Yeah, so it would cause her to behave herself so that people would react favorably to her.
And even that, again, I do believe that over time it's going to, cause her to act even worse in some ways. But again, it could be fun.
If the only way that she can gain fuel, and she needs it, is to act in a way that is positive, then that either means that she is going to do more things of a better nature, so more charitable stuff, even though, of course, it's self-serving. She would be doing that rather than causing problems, or she'd just basically be engaging in a lot of spicy poontang with one or more persons to receive positive fuel that way.
Yes.
So,
and that could be fun to hear about too. not
Yeah.
the actual poontang, but who she's up to it
Who,
with.
who she's doing with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay. So she's placed on a positive fuel track only, which is designed to correct her behaviors. Makes sense. What's the eighth commandment, please?
I am going to let her have the answer be yes only once a week, but she gets to choose when it is. So, she's expects everything to go her way. So I'm
Mhm.
going to try and limit that by only letting things happen once a week, and she has to pick when she wants to do it, which of course she'll do it right away the first thing every week, and then be left with hearing a lot of no's.
Okay, so that's for her to receive the answer yes to something. So, for
Yes.
instance, if she said, "Can I come to the Oscars?"
Yes, she can get a yes to that once a week, yes to those sorts of things once a
Yeah,
week. And then
and then once
everything
it's
after that is a no.
is a no. Okay, isn't
But
there
she
the
gets to
scope?
choose.
Isn't there the scope though that she will look to twist it so that she would utilize double negatives?
Of course, but there's no loopholes, right?
No, no, no. Your commandment is you will only
So she would
receive the answer yes.
so she will instead say,
So she might
like,
say, for
reverse
instance,
psychology.
"Am I stopped from going to the
Right,
Oscars?" No. Oh, that means I can
right,
go then.
right. True. Yes, she would.
Yeah.
But I
So,
guess over
so
time we would start to catch on, maybe. I don't know.
well, she's the one asking whether she can do those things,
That's
and
true.
so I think therefore she would work her way around that one. As I say, there are no exclusions and loopholes to the
Right.
commandment. There may be, because of the way that it's been worded, a workaround there.
Yeah.
So I understand the sentiment behind that. Depends whether she's got the level of intelligence to do that, and that is questionable.
That's true. That's
Okay.
true. But
Okay.
she doesn't necessarily have the intelligence, but she has the cunning to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right, so that one might work for her, but I'll throw her a bone
Okay.
on that one.
Commandment number 9, please.
She shall be in the news for all her sincere acts, and that can be her positive acts, but it can also be her negative ones. So anything that's done sincerely, so she sincerely bullies people, so that will be in the news. And
By
things such
sincere.
as her trip to Uvalde,
Yeah.
that would not be,
Yeah.
because there was no sincerity in it.
Okay. I mean, everything she does is self-serving because she's a narcissist.
Right.
So essentially, you could argue that nothing's done with sincerity because it's
Then
all
she just
self-serving.
Well, then she wouldn't be, well, except for the negative things, right? The
Well,
negative things might.
even then, the
Mhm.
behavior is generated by self-service because if you think about it, the narcissist could say to you at 9 o'clock in the morning, "I absolutely hate you. Never darken my doorstep again." And then at 9:10, they go, "I love you."
Mm.
So
Yes.
how sincere was the hatred? It wasn't really,
Right.
was it? It was just self-serving in the moment. I suppose you could get into an argument to say it's sincere in the moment. It just isn't sincere in terms. It depends on how you define sincere.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, she would end up being sincere in the moment and get the coverage.
Yeah, I suppose you might tinker with the definition of it to suggest that if it's self-serving,
That's true. Yes.
that
But
it is.
then,
But
so
then,
what, self-serving, it's always in the news or it's not? Because I also want to show her negative things. That's the thing, is that the catch is that it's showing her bad as well as her good.
well, I think perhaps then, if you to alter it to say you should be in the news for all acts which are self-serving, she'd never
There
be
you
out
go.
of the news, because, and then as long as everyone understood, the only reason
It's
she's allowed to be
self-serving.
reported on is because it's self-serving. So, for
Yes,
instance, she goes to a children's hospital and everybody goes, "Oh, she's not there
exactly.
because she cares. We know it's because she's self-serving."
Exactly. Yes, that was what I was going for. That's a much better
Okay,
way to say
yeah.
it. Yes.
You want to highlight her lack of
I want to
sincerity in that
highlight her.
regard.
Yes, I want to highlight her bad behavior as bad behavior.
Yeah, and also unmask when she's behaving pleasantly that actually it's not
Right.
genuine because it's what
Exactly.
it does for her. Yeah, okay. Makes sense. So she gets exposed. You just have to ensure that the populace were aware of what they were seeing, and then, well, that's easily enough done. Yeah. Okay. And your final commandment, please.
She shall get the respect that she gives, which is very little. So therefore, she's not going to get a whole lot.
Which will threaten her need for control, and we'll see her dropping to the floor, one tear, left eye go, and stamping a cloven hoof in furious temper, because she is incapable of providing adequate respect to people, so she's going to be exposed there.
Yes. I mean, I don't even think that she does a whole lot for respecting herself.
No.
So, yeah, she wouldn't have, who does she respect? I can't imagine that she respects anyone.
Yes. The overall impression I gain, if we look at your 10 Commandments recollections in aggregate, is not so much punishing her, but trying to expose her and in a way get her to behave better. Would you say that's a fair summation?
Yes, get her to behave better, or when she's not, like you said, when she's not, let it be known. Yes.
What's made you decide to almost go along the sort of rehabilitation route rather than punishment?
Well, because I don't think it will rehabilitate her. I think it'll instead just reveal her for who she truly is.
Okay, that's fair enough.
And like I said, trying to go within her narcissism. I mean, she is who she is, and punishing her, you can't punish a duck for being a duck. And so instead, let everybody know it's a duck.
I see. So you think, it's not right in a sense to punish her. That's just the way that she is. Instead, let everybody see what she is, let the scales fall from their eyes, and let people understand this is what she truly is and how she behaves.
And that's why, especially when you put her on the island with the squatties, how long until they don't open their eyes? Even they would by then have to open their eyes.
Oh, I agree. I think there would come a point where many of them would suddenly realize, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
It really is Emperor's New Clothes. She isn't what we thought she is. And they would be left crying bitterly into the salty ocean, or left tearing their hair out and thinking, why is her hair changing colour? What's all that about? So, yeah, absolutely. Well, our recollections may vary. Thank you very much for sharing your 10 Commandments with me and the valuable viewers. Valuable viewers, what do you think of those 10 Commandments? Did they scratch that itch that you have for this one's wife? Do you now have a warm, prurient feeling in the center of your being? Or do you think that Recollections could have gone a bit further? Would you have gone further? You can let Recollections and myself know your thoughts in the comments section. All there remains for me to do is thank our Recollections May Vary for joining me today. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun. It was fun to think through this.
Thank you for applying your mind in the way that you did do them. I think there were entertaining observations that you offered. And there we are, another 10 Commandments for this one's wife. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.